move over here.
Please do down there.
I'm
Let you get more.
I'm good. We're not having anyone on board, are we?
I'm not. No. All right, we're live. It's 5 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Pretty simple agenda tonight. As everybody knows, this is a meeting to get some input from the teachers, from the various groups, what they would like to see in a superintendent candidate from their point of view. I appreciate you all spending the time to put together what you have, coming here and presenting to us. I think they emailed everybody out some stuff today. I don't know if anybody's had time to read that. It came a little bit late today. I haven't had time to look through it. But we will, Chris, are you leading the charge tonight for the teachers group?
That's right.
All right, well, we will turn it over to you and go from there. I don't, if we've got any questions for you all, we will probably stop you right there and
That's
ask
fine.
a
That's what
clarifying
we want.
question. But I don't know if this will be a whole lot of two-way communication. We're here more to gather what information you all have for us, so.
Okay.
Take her away.
No problem. So we greatly appreciate, of course, you guys having us in and taking the time to listen to us. We thank you for your service and what you do for our school district and what you do for us. We want to make sure that we express that. This superintendent search is a huge decision within our district. It affects all of us, it affects our community, and it affects our teachers, it affects our students, parents, everyone. So we want to thank you that you're leading the charge on that, and that you're taking this seriously and hearing our, our ways of wanting to portray our teachers is what we want to do. I'm just going to read, in approaching this process, we wish to request the board, this is kind of coming from the teachers, maintain a historic perspective to gain clarity. We don't want to overemphasize the past, but we still want to gain insight through past concerns. Although we agree with the value in focusing on forward thinking and positive actions, several teachers have requested that the board refrain from discounting any of the various concerns which are brought up. One common thing running through all the comments is the amazing and special place Willow Springs is, and that we need to keep local values and community spirit at the front of the selection process. And the way that I kind of see it, if we're in our classroom and we teach a lesson and it just totally goes array on us. I mean, just bad on us. Instead of just, we're just going to move on and not fix that, we want to look back, what did go wrong, or what can we do better to move forward. And we want to make sure that that's what we do as a school district and what you guys look at, in selecting our new superintendent. The school's board's role in hiring the superintendent who will lead the district for the next 2 years is the most important decision that will be made this year. In 2 years, and hopefully we're looking at somebody that will lead us 20 years, We hope that we find that candidate that, wants to invest in our community. We wanted this document to be workable to where not only you can use it, but our future superintendent can use it to open that communication with the teachers, with the school board, and be able to look at our concerns and trust us to do what we're doing. As you can see, we have organized this into topics with an explanation of what we want to see in our next superintendent. We have also included sample questions to go along with each topic. For instance, on the first one, you see the community integration. Willow Springs is a special place with a unique identity. Admittedly, there are many challenges that could be named that this community faces. Alongside this, there are many positives as well. There's a strong sense of community, a hard work ethic, and those with a strong moral compass. In order to be an effective superintendent, the individual must recognize and embrace the strengths of this community, as well as recognize the challenges of the area and be willing to adapt to them. So we actually put some sample questions together for you that, we hope that you will look at and use whenever you do search. What do you see as the strengths and weaknesses of the Willow Springs R4 school district, as well as the local community? And I think what we were wanting to get out of this question is somebody on the outside coming in to our community or within. Who is Willow Springs? What is the community? Who are the people? You know, we want somebody that's come in, they've done their homework, and they know exactly what Willow Springs is, what they're moving into, and the job that they're wanting to do. And, you know, who are the people? What experience do you have as a resident and member of a smaller community? And we think that's important, you know, in dealing with small community issues and, you know, in small school district. And we felt that was very, very important in that. Staff and culture. Staff culture and climate. Historically, the Willow Springs R4 school system has had a strong and positive climate among its faculty and staff. This is facilitated in a working environment that many have compared to a family setting, more so than a working one. And I know a lot of us use that in our classrooms, you know, that family setting. I know I do in my band, you know, we're family. You know, we stick together, we look up for each other. You know, we stand strong for each other, we trust each other. And just those core values within a family. And we feel like as a school district and as teachers, we have that. And we want to see that within our school district so that we work closely together, we trust each other. I mean, a lot of us, we're basically almost living, you know, in this community together almost all the time, you know. So that's kind of what we want to see there. A superintendent should temper their decision-making with the ability to trust and seek input from those with the most intimate knowledge of the problem or solution, you know, trusting professionals to know what is best for our school and students and making their decisions based on that, you know, those recommendations. This atmosphere leads to a belief that educators and support staff are having a positive impact. Renowned educational researcher John Hattie has found that this belief strongly correlates with student success. Therefore, not only do the faculty and staff benefit from this, but students as well. Also, many students find school to be a safe place that otherwise might not exist in their life. And we put some sample questions along with that. As a superintendent, how would you facilitate a strong climate and culture throughout the district? How would you address situations where there is an obvious issue? What have you done in the past to help build and maintain a positive environment? And, you know, we thought those were appropriate questions that would address the issues, you know, of how a superintendent would deal with staff and the culture of the district. The next one, staff recruiting, retention, and morale. The mission statement of Willow Springs R4 is improving the quality of life for everyone through quality education. There can be no doubt that all students benefit from a consistent and quality education. Part of this requires that quality educators are recruited and retained. Many factors such as competitive salaries, step increases, class load and schedules, work environments, and alternative calendars to compete with neighboring districts contribute to this. In recent years, many quality educators have made the decision to leave the Willow Springs R4 school system. Some of this cannot be avoided due to health issues such as health, retirement, and family relocation, but many have left who were not affected by issues such as these. So some simple questions along with that. What methods would you use to recruit and retain quality educators for the Willow Springs R4 school district? How would you work to continually build morale for the district? What steps could be taken to address high turnover rates? And, you know, I think a lot of this is fixed through, you know, by, you know, in the summer. You know, we take vacation. But if you drive by our school, you know, by our parking lots and by our buildings, even during the summer, you're gonna find parking lots full. You know, even when it's not contract time. And we want a superintendent that will be a motivator to cause that effect. To cause a teacher, hey, I wanna come up and I wanna give my best for our school district. You know, or anything, an administrator, hey, I want that administrator to work hard, and I want to build the quality of the kind of teachers that we want in our school district, and the kind of students that we want. The teachers are prepared. And not just, oh, well, you have to be here at 7:30 and you have to work till 3:15. Because I can tell you now, you'll find a very few handful of teachers that do that. I mean, a very few, select. I mean, you come up here Christmas break, you know, I came up several times, and there were cars everywhere, you know, coaches coaching, you know, teachers working in their classrooms, preparing their lesson plans, you know, and just building that trust that that's gonna happen, and not, oh, nope, you have to work 7:30 to 3:15. You know, we just want you to know we don't work 7:30 to 3:15. You know, I'm just saying, you'll find a lot of teachers here that'll be here at 10:30 at night, still working, okay? So we just wanna make sure that, and find a superintendent that motivates enough that that happens automatically, and that teachers want to work here. And, you know, a big part of that, you know, salaries, and I know we talk about the base, and I read something today. You know, the people that work in a job for, say, 20, 30 years, maybe their career, you know, that are career in one place, it's hard to find those people. And those people are the ones that have built the experience and built, you know, the knowledge and the wisdom to do their job effectively, that they want to stay in one place, or they enjoy staying in one place. And we want to make sure that that's encouraged, especially on the top end of our salary schedule. And we want a superintendent that can work through that and make sure that that happens, and work with the teachers to be able to do that. You can kind of look down, I'm not going to read all, integrity, compassion, and trust under that. I just wanted to highlight some of the questions that we put in that. How would you as a superintendent ensure the safety and security of students attending school? Of course, that, you know, that's working with our resource officer, you know, working with our counselors, guidance counselors, to make sure students are getting what they need, and staff is getting what they need to ensure we have a safe school system. How important is character integrity of the superintendent, not only at school functions, but in their personal life as well? You know, we wanted to really stress that, because that's important. You know, we're held to a high standard as teachers, and we want to make sure that our superintendent is held to the same high standards that we're held to, and make sure that that goes. Next page, leadership and conflict resolution. This was something that stuck out with me. Leaders must recognize that they are leaders of people. You know, we like to think, oh, we can lead this as a business model. Yeah, we can lead it as a business model, but we're dealing with people's lives in our setting. Where, I mean, you know, a lot of us are grounded, especially our teachers are grounded in Willow Springs. You know, our families are grounded in Willow Springs. And, you know, we're dealing with people. It's not just, oh, well, we can fire that person and bring the next one in. We want to make sure that we're developing teachers to where we have that longevity of success within our school district, and that teachers have that longevity of success. Not just, oh, well, we can just throw them away and get another one that'll come right back in. Okay, we want teachers that feel like our leader, our superintendent leader, is invested in our professional lives within our school. And a few of those questions: how would colleagues and subordinates in your current and past positions describe you as a leader? We think that's very important to look how, you know, how they were, whatever position they were in before, how were they perceived as a great leader within their position, whatever they held beforehand. If informed about your interest as a superintendent, would they endorse your being hired, and why? How would you arbitrate conflict between coworkers and interested parties, i.e. teachers, administrators, support staff, and school board. We just want to make sure that whoever our leader is and whoever the superintendent, make sure that our environment stays healthy and that trust is maintained within our, we're not going to have anything of the sort of if a concern is brought to a superintendent, is that concern going to come back to get us? And we want to have that trust, that we can make suggestions or, whatever we need to do as a staff. Of course, all in interest of our students and bettering what we're doing as teachers. Meeting diverse student needs. If you'll look at the last question on that one, I wanted to bring that one out. And this is kind of making sure we're getting the whole spectrum. This includes the full spectrum from gifted students to students with IEPs. What are your staffing ideas towards meeting the needs of every student? And I know our special education department has expressed needs. Our gifted has expressed needs. We have needs all across the board. And we just to make sure that the superintendent has a vision for how we as a district can meet the needs of all of those students that we have and we have to deal with, and that that we teach every day. The next one under that, use data. I wanted to make sure that the last question, how do you measure a student's success? Is that measured by test score, standardized test only? Or is that measured by how a student progresses? We want to make sure that, we have a superintendent that understands that, maybe, of course, that's your call, but maybe not all students are measured how they test on a certain test on a certain day. And make sure that we're covering how is a student progressing. And I know a number is an easy way to do that, but are there other ways that we can measure how a student is progressing throughout their educational spectrum through that? The next one, extracurricular programs and funding. Our programs play an important role in the Willow Springs School District. Sports, arts, FFA, FCCLA, FBLA, tutoring, there's all kind of programs within our district, and a lot of those programs is what keeps our students engaged in school. And it's just the way it is, and we want to make sure, so our question under that, how do you realize the importance of programs within our school district, and how do you anticipate funding to support these programs? And we want to make sure that a lot of that, we want to educate students, but what is motivating that student to come to school? And we want to make sure our superintendent knows that and realizes that. The next one, maintenance and janitorial. We just the Willow Springs School District has been gifted with facilities that have been well maintained. This has been accomplished through the hiring of highly qualified maintenance and janitorial staff. So some of our simple questions there, what are your views in addressing the upkeep and maintenance throughout our district? How do you value the recommendations from our current maintenance and janitorial staff? Would you recommend more in-house work or outsource? How would you address the recruitment and retention of quality staff in this department? And they wanted to make sure that what they're saying and what they're recommending is heard. And whether that is from painting, building classrooms, building new buildings, roofs, projects, things like that. We have a lot of expertise within our own school district that has a lot of knowledge in that. And we want to make sure that our future superintendent is listening to that knowledge and using that to make sound decisions within our district. that, you know, are, ultimately would save us money and time and energy, you know, in maintaining that, our stuff. And that goes for everybody, you know, all our professionals within our teachers, you know, is our superintendent gonna listen to our suggestions? You know, as to what programs we need in our classrooms. You know, what programs that we need that's gonna better our students. And let us voice our opinions of what we need. And follow that, and make sound decisions. It may not be the direction that the superintendent wants to go, but we hope that that will encourage our superintendent to make good decisions as to what we need. In closing, just for this part, there's an overwhelming desire for the board to have open dialogue with staff. Many requested the board members walk through the buildings when available and initiate formal conversations with available staff members in order to gain mutual insights and understanding. We want you in our classrooms. We welcome you in our classrooms. I mean, come in and see what our students are doing. You know, what they're working on, what they're playing, what, you know, whatever.
Breakfast duty,
Yeah.
open car doors with us, all the little things.
And
It
I
doesn't
really
matter.
think students would wanna see.
They would love that.
They would love that, just to know. And it may perk them up a little too, you know, at the same time. And we welcome that. You know, we welcome questions if there's questions about anything that we're doing in our classroom. You know, you may come in and say, well, I'm not sure, you know, ask us about it. And, you know, there may be a reason why we're having to do something to accommodate either a certain student or a group of students.
Chris, I'm gonna stop you right there for just,
Okay.
just to interject. You know, I realize that you guys, you say you'd like to see that. Just realize that all the training that we go through as board members, they highly recommend that we do not partake in that. Because when we come to, if I show up at school, I wanna be there as a parent. I don't want people, we don't want them to see us as a school board member when we're there, that's one reason. The second reason is, if I show up and talk to Misty as a school board member, you know, I'm one board member, one of the 7 people on the board. So, you know, through our trainings, through our MSBA board trainings that we have to take, they, you know, and whoever, you know, when we're talking to those people, they don't encourage board members to be in classrooms as, in school buildings as school board members. They say it puts off the wrong, just the wrong atmosphere, the wrong outlook. So that's a lot of the reason I believe that we don't come up there as that, because they say a lot of teachers see us as, what are they up here looking for? You know, so it's been preached to us that we don't do that.
It's interesting.
So I don't know if you all are aware of that or not, but that's,
No.
you know.
One, it creates problems with your chain of command, quite frankly, you know what I mean? I mean, Tony's right, I mean, we're one of 7, so we have no authority outside of this room as part of this group. So when we go there, it can make it uncomfortable for the administrator of a building, or,
Right.
I mean, it's awkward sometimes.
So
You know?
how-
And it's even, it can be awkward
Yeah.
as a parent even.
So
You know what I mean,
I
I
guess
used
If we
to
want
be
to come as
trumping
a
all through the
board and
buildings.
do a tour,
I
that's
think
a
I can
different
speak
thing.
for
If we
several.
do it as but then it's a board meeting.
Right,
And it's a
then
board
we
meeting.
have- Right, so on an individual level, there's those challenges. If we wanted to come as a board, which is how we have to function, it would be a board meeting, which we would post, we would have to post before, otherwise we couldn't talk to each other.
Right,
We
but
just
just
have
to
to
gain
walk through.
insight and knowledge and to know what's going on in the building. I mean, I would think that, I'm not sure why they would recommend that you wouldn't come to the school building. That's very interesting.
Because I think for a majority of
Anything like that.
people, we would welcome it with open arms.
Absolutely.
Just to prove, not that we have to prove it, but just to know that we know that you know that we are doing our jobs and that we are professional and that we are actively wanting kids to succeed.
And it's that
Yeah.
trust, because we don't know what's being said about us, you know.
I mean, again, I'm one of 7, but I think everybody here knows the job that you guys are doing. And I don't think there's a lack of trust from here to there, okay? You may not see it, because we may not be in there sharing it with you every day, but I don't think there's any sense that you guys are not doing every single thing you can to educate kids in the best interest of kids.
And it goes back to the chain of command. I mean, we have to, you know, the school board has 1 employee, and that's the one we're fixing to hire. you know, and then the principal, it's like with anything, you know, if a parent has an issue with a teacher, with something that's going on with their student, they have to follow the chain of command. You know, they come into your classroom and say, hey, what's going on with my kid, you know, why is it, and, you know, and then if they don't like that answer, they follow the chain of command up, and it kind of comes the same way from this end. It has to work down. That's the way that we have to work.
And I'll say, that's been the hardest thing for me, you know, having been there and knowing everybody and most everybody, not anymore maybe, and really, you know, enjoying coming up and seeing people and seeing what's going on. That's been the hardest thing in the world for me, is knowing my place and keeping that position where it ought to be. Because the last thing I want to do is create some situation that, you know, that's not best for, you know, the school and the school board. And
I would say the only fun and memorable thing we've done in the last 2 years was serve hamburgers.
Yeah, that
right?
was-
I mean, that's really the only time, that's the most fun we've had.
yeah,
Maybe the only fun we've had, right?
Right.
I mean, other than that, so we like that kind of thing. We could do that kind of thing, but again,
And you
it's,
don't have to feed us. I mean, it can be, you just come and hang out. It doesn't have to feed us. We don't need anything.
You don't have to
You
eat.
I
don't.
completely disagree with this.
All right. Bring me some food. I'll be happier.
So can we brainstorm some ideas and, you know,
yeah.
present those to you to get you
heck yes.
as a board together, so you're all 7 together? Can we also encourage our staff not to break the chain of command, but if they are going to want to talk to any one of you, I mean, you all have a school email account, whether
Right.
you check that regularly or not.
Some of us do.
But they need to, if we send that, they need to attach all of you to that same, so you're all in that same conversation, or you know what that conversation was.
That is best to send it to all of us, but know that we cannot respond to that.
Yeah, you can't.
We can't engage,
answer.
then it's a
I
board
understand
meeting. If all of us, I can respond to you, but if I respond to everybody, then there's rules that we can't do
We're
that.
all-
It's sunshine.
We're all friends, but we can't go out and stand in the parking lot with 4 of us, because that could be declared a school board.
So you guys are free to communicate with any one of the board
Absolutely.
members anytime. I mean, I make sure any contact I've got, you any of it, feel free. And I'm sure everyone here feels the same way.
Absolutely.
And so one-on-one, you can share your concerns and thoughts. I mean, we work for you as a patron of the community, and we represent you as a patron of the community. But we're one of 7, and there are just really structured guidelines on what we can and can't do. That's all.
Well, and I think like, you know, talking about parents, you know, if a parent was to come to us, I can't walk in there and address any issue right there. I mean, they would have to come before the board, and the board would have to discuss and have to deal with that deal. So, I mean, we can't represent the board individually.
We always recommend talking to the teacher,
As
or go to their administrator, and then eventually it may make it up to us.
I'm sure these guys do it too, but when we have a parent that comes to us with concerns, or a teacher, the only thing I can do is go to the superintendent. That's the direction we have to go, superintendent or a building level administrator, and tell them, hey, this is what I'm hearing, you guys have got to deal with it, you know, because we can't. I can't. I can come back to a board meeting, but that's usually not the route that's gonna be best, is to wait. Number 1, wait till a board meeting, or number 2, usually the person that comes to you doesn't want you to go to a board meeting and deal with it. So,
And I think
but
that's.
I do, just
Right.
like Dean said, I do encourage, you know, it bothers me when I hear people say that, hey, you know, the teachers don't want to come and talk to you guys. They don't want to talk to you, or they don't want to talk to Adam, or whoever, you know, because they come and talk to us. I don't know what they think I can do. You know, they say, well, we don't want the board, we don't want them to come down on us. Well, I can't come down on them. I mean, I can't walk in there and say, mister, you're out of here, you know?
representation.
That's what we can't do that. So, you know, I want to hear their concerns if there's issues, you
You
know?
know, that's one way we gain knowledge ourselves.
So
And
a
that's the
follow-up.
biggest thing, oh, go ahead,
I'm
sorry.
sorry, just if you do tell the superintendent that there is a concern that's been brought to you, is there any follow-up in a closed session where you ask that superintendent, Was this issue taken care of? Did you
Usually,
address it?
usually not in a board meeting session, but I always make sure if they don't follow up with me, I've been with 2 different superintendents, if they don't follow up with me, I follow up with them and make sure that it's been addressed.
But that's one-on-one, one board member,
Yes.
one superintendent, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not usually brought before the whole board. There've been issues that have over
Yeah.
the years,
Right.
but it's
But
not,
that's an
it's not
important
normal.
piece.
Normally, what we're doing is governance.
Yes.
You know, we're not managing the business, that's not our role. So, our role is not really what everybody thinks it is. We're not managing the business at all. We're governing. So we set parameters, and the superintendent, as Tony said, works for us, and he goes and executes the plan, and has, and then he gets that feedback. Does that make sense?
I think
Yeah.
us as teachers, we wanna make sure that whoever we hire works for all of us. Is an advocate for all of us, for teachers, for, administrators, for school board, and that we can trust that person, whoever it is, that they're gonna do what's best for for us, and for you guys, and for our district.
And I
You
think
know.
that's what I'm hearing it boil down to is a trust issue,
Communication.
communication. Not that you guys have done anything to make us doubt that, but,
We haven't done anything to make you not doubt it.
you could say it that way. It's like there's a divide
Right.
between.
There's a breakdown.
There's
I
a
think
breakdown.
that's obvious, or you wouldn't be
Yeah.
here.
I mean, I know you all over there, personal levels, whatever. I'd like to be able to just come up in public too and just talk to you and not, have that
Come on.
concern as
Yeah.
well.
And, I think I'm speaking for all of us, we would be fine with that. Would I have some reservations about, okay, who's talking to the school board member? Probably. I mean, that's just,
Can you say that again? You would have some reservations about what?
who saw me talking to a school board member?
Like thinking that you were complaining.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's a back door in my office, you can slip through.
And I
Yeah,
think,
I'm in West Plains, nobody ever comes here.
I really think our request in that is not that you come and you solve all of our problems, but that you gain background knowledge. I know, I honestly, I could never go to a tire shop and be like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I wouldn't have any idea. And I know sometimes, like, I've heard some of you guys express your teaching's not your thing. That is not your main job. And so I think our request in that is just that you gain the background knowledge of what we were gonna do, because if I had to make a decision for any of your jobs, I would want background knowledge before I made a decision. And I think that's kind of where we're coming from with that. Not that we want you to fix anything on a one-on-one basis or anything like that. We just wanna make sure that all of the decisions made, we have the background knowledge to make the best decision for our kids, our district, our staff, kind of thing, so.
So I think, a big thing that we're wanting to get across, we're Willow Springs R4 schools. And we want to be the leaders in education, the innovators in education. We want to push our students not only to be the best in the state, but be the best in the nation. And we want a leader that's going to allow us to do that. That's kind of the bottom line. That's not gonna hold us back and not allow us to do that. As a staff, we want a leader that's gonna bring us together and create an environment of family, within all of our buildings. Not just high school and middle school and elementary, but bring all that together and facilitate us bringing students up from preschool all the way up to graduation, and have that sense of pride that, hey, that preschool teacher had a big influence on that student graduating, and that's our number one goal through all of this. And that our students that are competing, that they're competing on the highest level.
Yes.
And that they're allowed to compete on the highest level. And not just, so-and-so school in our district, we're not, in our conference is doing this. We're not so-and-so school in our conference. We're Willow Springs. We're gonna do what our students are good at. You know, and that's the thing, I know that every one of us in our classroom, we push our students to perform at a high level. Now, that level may be different for each student, and we need to address that as a district. But that is our main goal, you know, throughout the whole district. And we want that main goal to be throughout all of our teachers too. We want to be allowed to perform on a high level in our classrooms, you know, to perform at a high level on our football fields, on our baseball, you know, on the court, you know, in our programs. We want to be allowed to do that, you know, and have somebody that will, you know, motivate us as a district, you know, you guys, teachers, maintenance staff, cafeteria workers, to do that for all of our students. And you know, that's kind of the bottom line to it. You know, Willow Springs, you can read there, is a unique school district, and we think it is imperative that the superintendent know the culture of our district, the families we serve, and the dynamics of the town as a whole. Our relationship building is key. This is big. Our relationship building is key at all levels, and we hope this emphasis is echoed in the selection of our superintendent. And, you know, and that's the bottom line. And we hope that this document has given you some tangible things that you can use, you know, in your search. You may think it's all garbage. You know, we hope not as a staff, but, you know, you may decide, well, we want to go a different direction, you know. And not that that would, you know, of course, that's your decision. But we want to make sure that our voices are heard. And frankly, what we did in the meeting, our voices weren't heard.
By meeting, we mean the MSBA
Right.
representative meeting.
Can
Now, you know, and there's a couple of things to address there. Of course, our time was very limited. And I think the timing of the meetings, you know, we may say, well, maintenance staff, none of them attended. Well, they were working. You know, our janitor staff was working. Our
Or they
teachers
didn't
were in
know
tutoring.
about it.
You know, so, you know, I think that the timing of that was really not the best timing for a lot of us.
And I think we realize that, and that's
Right.
the purpose of why we
And we
decided to do this.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we're all passionate about our school district or we wouldn't be here. Every person in this
And
room.
I kind of wanted to add to that just a little bit. I know Megan and I both graduated from Willow, and now we both work here. And I have such pride in that. Like, there is no place in the world that I want to live but Willow Springs, Missouri. And I am proud that I graduated here. I'm proud that I work here. And I like to think, you know, that we are making an impact to the community in the position that we are in now. And I think that's what we want for our students, is we want a leader who we don't want kids to leave. We want to build them, and we want to grow them, and we want them to impact the community just like Megan and I were impacted by graduating here and then working here now. And so I don't know if we always see that as much now as, you know, when I was in school, and I think that we're aching for that again.
Can I just, and maybe I'm just wrong here, but I would almost suggest that the superintendent search is more of a catalyst for uncovering a larger underlying problem. I mean, I think solving all the things, so what we're talking about here is that the staff doesn't feel heard, doesn't feel that the board is approachable. I mean, that's a big, big issue. I don't know that you can give that to one guy and say, okay, you're gonna go solve that. You know what I mean? That's a big ask for anybody. So, you know, I would say, you know, maybe we've got a problem we need to fix a different way. And I'm not throwing it, but maybe once a quarter we could have this, right? Where you guys meet with the board and bring issues and we listen. I mean, maybe we do that once a quarter. I don't know, I'm just saying, I don't think we can hire our way out of the problem that I'm hearing. Does that make sense?
Aaron and I compiled this and tried to put it into a format that would be potentially useful for you, with putting the categories and then making basically sample oral board questions that you could use or not. But in doing so, we took a lot of things, there were a lot of things that weren't necessarily relevant specifically to the superintendent process, But they were things that people were, troubled by. And
Right,
it's like-
there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah,
Because
so-
I read through all of it, and I don't think we can hire a guy that's gonna fix this.
No, but I think it's like you said, it can be a catalyst to something really good. So
Well, I agree with that.
I do think the dialogue that can happen just in this, or even a less formal setting, even if it is a board meeting, or whether it's hamburgers, which I'm for also, but if we do it in any of those formats, that just opens the opportunity for dialogue and people to speak, and the more that happens, I know it's prohibitive to do it too frequently, but that's what we heard time and time again, and that's what I get a tremendous amount of when I come and present about the safety issues. I don't have any problems with anything that happens at our school because I feel really well supported by everyone. But then what I heard from others is they didn't have that same sentiment. But I'm in a unique role. But I get to come here and give specific presentations on where we're at with safety, and I get the support of the board because of that, and I feel like that because of the knowledge that you guys have. Even if you don't have direct interactions with some of the things, you do have interactions with the decisions on the budget, and it gives me confidence to know that. But even those informal little conversations that I have with different staff members, we gain tremendous insight into that and trust with each other. And I think that's what everybody's really looking for. And how we do that, I don't know. I mean, what you suggested might be the most viable option, but it's beneficial for sure. It would really help. My main thing that I wanted to convey when we had the meeting with the NSBA representative was, from my standpoint, when the pandemic started, we were dealing with a lot of mental health issues with the students. It increased a lot, just from what we saw. Then within this year especially, the level of mental health support we had to generate to give to staff has been like nothing before. And everything I've read and talked to from people around the state or around the nation is that's been a universal sentiment. And with that, same with law enforcement, we've had this incredible attrition rate that we're looking at, that we're going through, or we're going to go through, where people are deciding to abandon that field because they're close to retirement. With that, we lose an incredible amount of intuition that has been generated over years of service to something, especially someone that's local that decides to retire. And when there are competing options, and they don't feel the support, they could leave to a school district that has a 4-day school week, or just retire, or one of these things, or step increases. We heard all these specific things, and the value of them on their surface may not sound like much, but then when you look at it as a whole, we potentially lose a lot of good employees. So I think there's a lot of good dialogue and conversation I was totally unaware of. Not usually my role or anything, still isn't, but it was very eye-opening. And I think you're absolutely right. It's great. This is good material that people have generated from what we talked to that can be utilized for the superintendent search, but also especially going forward. I think everybody's on the same page in this room about what they want, as far as good communication and dialogue and support mutually between each other. It's just how we do that. So.
But a superintendent that, I can do that, can create that dialogue,
Right.
can.
Or
One man
can uncreate it. I mean,
Right.
obviously, it's much easier to do damage than
And
than
one
to
person
do
can't
good.
fix that, but they sure can.
But
do
you have to do both, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. And we just hope that, this document can be, even if you don't use it in your search, whoever you hire can use this document to, hey, how can we address some of these issues and build that bridge between,
Well, I for one appreciate all the questions. I appreciate actionable intelligence.
Yeah, I think this was well done. I like the positive way that it was presented, and the questions are, some of those questions are good, better than some others that I've seen before, yeah.
Right.
So I appreciate the work put into this.
I think there's no doubt that all of us I see nothing on this that Chris went over that I don't want for a superintendent as well. And I think everybody on here, I don't think anybody's gonna say, well, I really don't want a superintendent that can do that. I don't, that's great. The one thing that I pull out of this is a lot of what I'm seeing that we want out of a superintendent is, there's a lot of this that how am I gonna word this and not make this sound bad, but a lot of this is gonna cost a lot of money. We want this, we want a superintendent that can do this, that can do. Keep in mind, we run a district on the minimum tax levy allowed by the state. We're one of, I think, less than 10 districts out of 500 and some in the state that do that. So it does tie our hands some. You know, we're already spending over 70% of the budget goes towards teacher salary and benefits. So just keep in mind when we're asking for those extra people or those extra stuff for the sports programs or the FFA or any of that, you know, a lot of, when we, to come up with, we're only given so much money, and to come up with more money for this, it's gotta come from somewhere else. You know, and a lot of these, you know, when we start talking about the other districts are doing this, or, you know, without going into any specifics about stuff that we've been looking at lately, yes, those districts are the same, and I think maybe a few of the board members don't think about this sometimes, but some of those other districts that are the same size as they're doing, their tax levies are much higher. That generates a lot more money. So just keep that in mind whenever we're wanting extra stuff, that somewhere it's gotta come from. You know, we're trying to figure out where we're gonna come up with $1 million to fix some roofs that have been patched for 30 years, you know, and you go, well, you get $13 million a year, there's your budget. I mean, it just, you know, we're spending, you know, it's being spent, so. I just ask you to keep that in mind, just to remember that whenever stuff doesn't always happen and come like you want.
I don't know that it's extra money, it's just the support.
That's part of
Teacher
it.
and climate, a lot of that is free. Doesn't
A
cost
lot of
you
that's free,
nothing,
you know.
not a dime.
Absolutely.
It's coming from someone who's very cheap.
I understand what you're saying, but not all of it.
Right, you know, and then we're allowed, you know, just in the past, we haven't felt like we've been allowed to really push our students to do that. It's almost like we've been held back, you know, because of another school district, or, well, another school district, they do this way. Well, I may do that way, but that's not gonna help me for my students to be better than them. It's gonna make my students, help me to make my students to be the same as them, if I do it their way.
And are some of these things that you are needing to do or that cost a lot of money, is it being utilized by those ESSER funds that have been given out that are, I mean, is that something that could be looked at to alleviate some of the stress from the money on where to put it and just use those ESSER funds? Because I know we got millions of dollars.
Well, we have, but a whole bunch of that's already been spent. You know, and the ESSER funds are a one-time, right? So, you know, when you start talking about extra staff or extra steps on the salary, we can't use ESSER funds for that. That doesn't work, you know, and you guys know that.
But we can be creative in coming up with ways to be able to do that, I think. You know, there are creative ways to be able to, you know, and even if it steps on the top end, it may not, maybe every 3 years past where we're at. Okay, just to be frank, a lot of us that have taught for 20 years, when Career Ladder went away, we took a $10,000 pay cut.
Or even just a couple of years ago when our insurance was increased and we had to pay more, we got a decrease in pay. And looking at professions around the world, not many people lose money as you progress and teach more. You gain money. And I took a pay cut. And it's hard.
And that's where we have to be creative in order to retain our staff. You know, for instance, some of ours that are right out of high school are making more than our base salary working at Bass Pro. And I know, you know, I know where our hands are tied,
Myself.
but
Making more
we
money
need to
than my
be
daughter.
creative in ways to overcome that. Even in a time when it's hard, in a area where it's hard,
I just
to be able to do that.
I understand exactly what you're saying, but I don't think it's specific to teachers. You know, we see that where I work. You know, you see McDonald's employees making the wages, you know, that you started working at and stuff. So it's definitely a problem that's out there, and it's a problem that we're tasked with solving from a budgetary level. So I want to be careful that we don't. I understand it's a challenge. It's a challenge for you guys. It's a challenge to see it, but I want to be careful that it's not. We're not trying to do stuff to make the budget, you know, take money away from you or put you in a position that affects you negatively. But there are some challenges. I mean, we're all going to face challenges, and it's going to get worse. I mean, we're going to face worse challenges, and we're going to have to do those free things like open this communication up and talk more and figure our way through those processes. And some of them are gonna be, no, we can't do that because of the money. And some of them are gonna be, well, you guys have a lot better idea because you're sitting in that seat. And so I think that's what we need to gain from this situation, is realize that it's not us specifically targeting you guys, but we can improve with what we're doing. I don't think what you're saying is something that's specific from this board to you guys as teachers. I think it's something that we're seeing in this Willow Springs community that we're talking about on a lot of different levels. And so with COVID and all the things that we face, there's just gonna be some challenges that we're gonna have to work through, and we're gonna have to do a better job like what we're doing right now is what I think we need to do.
And it's hard when you see other school districts that have compensated their teachers with some of those ESSER COVID funds and have given them bonuses or whatever you wanna call them, and then nothing here. It's like we weren't even thought of. So, anyway.
Can I address tax levy for a moment? Just since it was brought up. I mean, it's been a while since I've even heard anyone mention an opportunity to try and pass a higher tax levy, and I know that is opening a huge can of worms, but you have a huge army starting here that will lead that. I don't even know where to begin. I've never had that conversation before.
It's been brought up at the last couple of board meetings.
Every board meeting we've had for the last
Yeah.
6 months anyway.
Who does this? What do we need to do? I mean, you have a whole staff that would support it and be able to lead that front, but
Many years ago, we tried, correct? I remember this.
Yes.
We kind of led, yeah.
it was a long time ago.
It's an all hands on deck sort of an
It'll be
effort.
15 years in April.
Yeah, because I was here, I remember.
Yeah.
And the reason it keeps coming up at board meetings is because we're kind of believing that we can get one passed soon. I'm not sure right in the middle of a COVID epidemic is the right time to start, but I think we're really close. I mean,
I guess maybe to answer your question, and I'm with you, I know very little about it, but I would think to contact, the courthouse and see how that process is
Yeah, I
is
think you gotta
done.
get somebody saying.
And figure out, what's gonna be on the ballot, what will that be going up against, is there other taxes trying to be when's, did we run it in April, do we run it, I think there's a lot of things, just laying the groundwork for that would, in my opinion, would be the first step.
you'll hire some experts to
It
help
takes,
manage that
it takes a
process.
good year to get that done.
But-
the first thing we gotta do is
Right.
get the superintendent in place.
Right.
So we're not at the point we can start the discussions as a board, do we even wanna do that? But to bring a new superintendent on board and let them try to figure out our district and what's going on, that would be a situation set for disaster, for failure if we did that, I believe, in the first year of a new
Right,
superintendent.
but that hire is important in this process.
Absolutely.
In that it, building that relationship between the school, community, just these values that we,
Or
that we're seeing.
if you have a candidate that has done it in the past.
Right.
That would be that would be something to keep in mind as well.
We do talk about a lot of these things. We do. Again, being board, we are privy to certain things that we can't necessarily share at moments, and I know that gets a little trying. But we do see a lot of this stuff and
I
talk
think
about it.
we respect that too. We understand that.
Right.
We do. We completely understand that.
As the newest board member, I was a little shocked with, a lot of things, but.
And the best looking.
Thank you, Mitch. And, do I think Matt's younger.
Did I miss that vote?
Yeah, you did, Tony, you weren't even on the ballot. But I was shocked by the lack of dialogue between board members and the staff and the faculty, because I know all of you sitting in here, and I've never found anybody I didn't want to talk to, and so I was a little shocked by that, but I do like the idea of some kind of open dialogue, because I've said this since I've been on the board. We're subject to what they tell us in this room, and we're making decisions on behalf of people. I don't know what you need in the 6th grade or the 5th grade. We're presented this information and we're making decisions on it. So back to Amber's point, the more well-informed you are when you make that decision with background information, I think would help us moving forward. And if it's once a quarter or whatever, some kind of dialogue, or we cook hamburgers, or Adam cooks hamburgers, or whoever.
And we eat 'em.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Because I do think whomever we hire, whoever is hired, regardless, moving down the road now or later, there needs to be some kind of communication line.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think that's the
And the
major
superintendent that is hired is, yes, that is key.
And an open and a trustful communication, line, bridge between, and one that where nobody's scared to have dialogue.
Yeah, nothing hurt me more than seeing teachers that didn't feel like they could put their name on a document and put it in front of me. That, I'm like, wow.
And there's a reason for that.
Obviously there is.
And I don't wanna be, scared to ask for 2 hamburgers. If I come up with this too.
Oh, dude, I thought we need 4 of those.
Maybe.
Or that special piece of spam.
Yeah, I forgot about this thing.
Mr. Gunn is the spam expert. Always say.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Doesn't come in a yellow can or package. Talk about being cheap.
Well, I think as teachers, I think this opens up the dialogue, and we respect that and, and want to continue to build that bridge and build that gap that we know we can, and that we can make, Willow Springs our school district and, one that's really strong in our area.
We know our parameters better now, and we
Right.
can communicate within those and come up with
You
some
know,
new ideas.
Talking with y'all, it's allowed me to bring more to the board. Personally, I mean, more, this,
But
I feel,
I would just say on the flip side of that coin, and I don't know, maybe if there's parameters from a superintendent standpoint, but we do meet once a month, right here. You guys are, welcome to come, and,
Well,
I
for the
understand-
longest time with COVID, we were not allowed to come.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think that's just kind of been the thing.
Okay.
Now we're not allowed to go. Well, let's watch it online.
And we used to have teacher representatives come all the time,
Yeah.
and
We
then
did.
when it started being live streamed and stuff like that, I don't know if it
Dropped
was
off, yeah.
encouraged
I
as
think that maybe
Yeah.
was intended to do good, and I think it has done good.
Yeah.
But I think it has also done some bad. I think because we don't see people at the
Well,
meetings.
I'm gonna officially invite you back to the meetings.
Thank you.
Because we've got an open door now, so we would love to see a bunch, whatever seat, butts in the seats over there.
We can get
Just because
we can get a bigger
we don't-
room.
Hey, on the flip side, we don't know if anybody's watching us or not to know what's going
I
on.
watch everything.
Great. So,
Those 3-4 hour meetings are hard to get through.
You're not kidding, right?
We feel your pain.
Yeah.
all right.
low on that, so much.
So does anybody have any questions for them before we wrap this up? Do you all have anybody have any closing comments?
We just hope it was what you were, wanting out of this meeting, as far as,
I think it was. I think it
You
was
know,
very helpful.
we wanted to do a professional job and just let you know where we're coming from and hopefully help you guys make an informed decision, an important informed decision, for our school district.
Do you guys feel like there's anything else you need to say or that we need to do right now?
Just know that we're here because we care.
Uh,
I'm not from
yeah.
here. I didn't grow up and graduate here, but I've been here 17 years and it feels like home now.
Yeah.
And I raised my kids here.
I didn't
And
mean,
No,
you
no,
were
I-
transplanted.
Amber, I didn't think that.
You foreigners.
I know I'm a scissor. Anyway, not anymore. I'm a bear. But anyway, I feel like that it's important that you all know that we don't want to lose quality teachers. The last few years, we've lost some quality teachers. It's been very disheartening. Obviously, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not saying that I am, but I don't want to lose any others. And I feel as though there have been some issues, and no, not one superintendent is going to fix that problem. However, climate and culture and so many of these things that don't cost a dime will make a difference. I promise you that.
And it will make it a better place for our kids to learn.
Yes.
We really need a better place for our kids to learn.
Because it will help with our mental health and how we look at coming to work and not like, oh, yeah, you
Yeah.
get to come to
And
work.
I can speak for everybody here. I'm getting teary-eyed. I love our kids, and I want them to have the best, or I would not be sitting here right now. I would probably be throwing up outside because I didn't really want to come tonight, but I want our kids to have the best, and I know each of you, either from I had your kid in class before, we go to church together, or you were my principal, you know. I know you two, you were my principal too. I know each of you guys, and
Can't get rid of them.
personally, I trust you guys with this decision 100%, and I appreciate so much that you took your time to hear from us today, and I know we all feel that way, so thank you. Thank you so
Thanks for
much.
coming.
Yep, thank
And
you.
we're not scary.
Really do.
We're not scary people.
We are not scared of you.
We are
We're not scared
I
of
know that.
you. You might be scared of live stream. We're not
I
scared.
more wanted to throw up because I knew I was on YouTube right now. That's why I wanted to
You're
throw up.
by
Not
the door,
facing
you're by the
you
door,
guys.
so you're fine.
Millions of hits on
Not
this.
facing you guys.
There'll be tens of people that see this.
Tens of people.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so
You're welcome to
much.
stay or leave, whatever you wanna do.
We'll watch it on YouTube.
Yeah. Wise decision.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. See you later. See
See ya.
Snake Charles, one of you guys.
See you, Aaron. Chris.
Thanks, Greg.
I'm gonna stay here, guys.
You just
I'm
go right
jumping,
ahead.
I'm jumping ship. on
This is
that.
my better size.
I wish you'd sit over here, Adam. I have to look at you.
Wow!
All the way around. You know, sometimes this side of the table seems a little smarter than that side, so I'm gonna see how it feels.
You just got dumbed down, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Yep. Love to play.
It'd be great to spit out on the camera there.
Kinda like that joke of what happens if you annex a boot hill of Missouri and Arkansas, was it raises the IQ of both states? We'll wait for Collie.
Did you watch Carousel today? Or did you just
Just dumped them out. They didn't seem bad, did they?
Really?
Mm-mm.
It's right.
I was the only trailer there at 9:30.
Really?
Yep, there was not like another,
Hmm.
well, I wanna say, I was the only one unloading
Right.
That grove?
at West Plains.
I heard that, they said after lunch though, they got full.
I saw a bunch of trailers when I was coming back towards Willow.
Did you take some heavies?
I took his.
Yes.
Mhm.
I didn't want to make two trips. He's got a bigger trailer.
I took his.
But I did hear they were up 6 to 9.
All right, so, as we discussed at our last meeting, we said we'd come here and hear from the teachers, and then, I guess try to boil that down to what we can use out of that. I heard some very good things from them tonight. I heard, maybe a few that, you know, I guess I shouldn't say that. I heard some that I didn't agree with, but, you know, there's definitely some other factors that have to weigh in on what we as a board are looking for a superintendent, you know, that's not addressed in this. We can't, this can't be the sole piece of, if we just use this as the only guide in what we're looking for, we will fail at our pick. So, you know, this will be one of our pieces of information, I feel, that we'll use.
So you and Dean Colley, you guys have been through this process
Uh-huh.
before, right?
Yes.
So I think these are really good questions from a teacher's perspective. How many questions do we need? Obviously, we need some from a board perspective or a budgetary
Not,
perspective. Or
not that many.
How many questions do we need as we go into that deal? I mean, do we need to narrow these down? Are we gonna utilize all of these questions, or?
That is up to us. So,
I'm just asking you guys from
Right.
experience.
With that though, what can we not ask? Is there some guidelines that?
Well, I mean, you can't ask anything, you can't ask how old they are, you can't ask if they have kids, you
What
can't,
gender they are.
you can't ask their gender or their, you
Political
know.
views.
You can't ask their political
Well,
views.
I guess I'm kinda getting to what Adam's, cause I'm curious what their stance is on, mandates, or what their stance is on critical race theory, or what their stance is on some of these stuff. So I don't know if we can ask those questions, and I don't know how many questions we.
I don't know why you couldn't ask those.
No, you can ask those.
Right, so-
Personal questions, I think, is what.
Right.
Personal questions you can.
That will be a very good question to ask Bob on the 17th,
Yeah.
for one.
Yeah,
That's
He will
why,
know.
that's why I'm trying to figure, we've got eight
There's some
questions.
There's some
here.
pretty good questions
Right.
here. I was pretty happy with what they turned, I gotta tell you, there's some pretty good stuff there.
So are we
Bob
gonna
will-
shoot for 12, or are we gonna shoot for 15, 20? I mean, I guess that's what.
Did we ask 2 or 3 questions, each board member?
I
asked
think
2
we
or
each
3?
asked 2 last time, didn't we? That's kind
I
of what we
wasn't-
decided.
And I wasn't here.
Yeah. So, isn't that what we did?
Seems like it was about right. I think
Yeah.
it's 15 questions or
Yeah.
so.
And you
15
wanna be
questions.
fair and ask every candidate the same question.
Right.
That's the
Don't-
thing right there, is you have to ask everybody the same set of questions. You can't ask this guy a bunch of different questions than you ask that person. I say guy, I didn't mean to be gender specific. But you have to ask them all the same set of questions.
And MSBA, they will bring a blanket list of questions that we can go over and use if we want or don't want. And I think most of our questions came from that last time. I think we
I
kind
culled them out of that.
discussed that we
Yeah.
probably want to venture off of that course a little bit this time, I believe.
I think
Well, you
so.
kind of want to look at general topics, like budget, finances, and there might be a question there might be
Right.
on
Right.
teacher, community relations or whatever, you don't want to just focus all your questions, as you said a while ago, on one thing.
So I've got a list of attributes, strategic planning, goal setting, budget building, communications. So you ask questions that say, tell me an example of in your past when you developed a goal and what you did to achieve it. I mean, those are the kind of, so how can you show me that you're an effective listener? What can you tell me about that shows your flexibility or your coaching skills or leadership, or any of these others? So you identify skills that you're looking for your district, and then you tailor questions that are meant to draw that information out, right? So we have to identify the 10 or 15 things that we think we need to know about somebody. Some of them are right here, and then we just need to tailor questions to that.
So, I mean, is that where, are we gonna follow suit with 2 questions per board member? Is that where we're at, or?
I don't know, we have to decide that tonight, do we? I mean, let's figure out our.
What are we deciding tonight? What are
I don't know that
we
we're deciding anything.
doing? Okay.
Yeah, I think we were just, as we had talked at the last meeting, when we planned this meeting, that we didn't know whether we were gonna take this information in, or we're gonna go home and let that sink in, and then come back on the 17th and try to rehash that and remember all that, or did we wanna come straight out of this meeting right into right now and discuss what we got out of this meeting?
So that's what we're doing. We're
That's
discussing
what we're
what we
doing,
got
just-
out of this meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what we need, that's where we need to go
Because
right now.
we'll have like you said, MSBA has their suggested questions. that we
And there'll
don't
be
have to
overlap.
use.
Some of them are gonna
Yeah,
look just like
definitely.
this.
Yeah.
They are.
Are there questions based on their survey of us?
I don't think so.
No.
No.
No?
No. I think that they will have a list, he'll have a kind of like the list Dean's got there, I didn't bring mine with me tonight, but what he got from all the surveys he sent out, and talking to us, and talking to the teachers, and that's what they'll bring, is a list of attributes that the most sought after
Most
attributes.
successful
Yeah.
superintendents.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'd say that, that's gonna be, you could about take that list to any district and put,
That's right.
put it to work. There's gonna be a few different things that might, stick out for our district than, say, if West Plains was looking for one, or St. Louis was looking for one, or Thayer, there's gonna be a few differences, minor differences, but for the most part, I think every district is looking for about the same thing in a superintendent. for the most, 90% of the qualities you would want in a superintendent, I think every district would want.
We're gonna have some priorities here, we're gonna have some challenges. And if we are seriously considering, I'm just saying if, we're seriously considering doing a tax levy or something, then we need to have a question in there about that, because that's a big deal, right? How would you go about it, what experience do you have, I mean, whatever the question looks like. But, so whatever we think our specific challenges are moving ahead, if we're going to try to get funding to build a FEMA building, then do we have somebody that has experience in doing that kind of stuff? So if we feel like we've got academic challenges, what are your experiences in curriculum development, right? So whatever our challenges are, that's the questions that we need to get together. And I think we do that on the 17th. I think this is pretty well put together, this document here. And I think we get together on the 17th and we look to see what other kinds of questions we have. We've got time to think about the attributes that we're looking for in a superintendent. We come together on the 17th and hack out a list and figure out the mechanics of how we do it, whether Tony asks all 15 questions or everybody asks 2 questions, or, I mean, the mechanics of it aren't critical to me, but that's what I think.
Anybody else got any thoughts on this tonight, on what we heard there?
I mean, I thought it was good information.
You know, the big thing I hear from it, if I was gonna summarize it, would be culture building. Building the kind of culture where people wanna work here, where good people are gonna wanna stay, where we're able to keep good people. And then all the things that revolve around that culture that we're looking for. Communication,
Trust.
collaborative, building, work there, trust, all those things that contribute to that.
The 2 words that I heard the most, that I kept thinking, is trust and listening.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
2 that stuck out the most, what I heard.
And that's, I think we've all heard that somewhere else, sometime else before now. But I think that's the key that I got from it, for sure. That we really need to focus on, not just give it lip service, but make that, and not just in our superintendent search. I mean, that's a big part of it. But then, from that point on, like you were talking about hearing from them, I was sitting there thinking, about how they think that, talk about how we don't hear from them. Well, we do hear from a lot of the special programs. We have representatives come and talk to us about once a year, right, from most of the different programs. But then I get to thinking, the grade level teachers, we don't hear.
We don't.
Probably that much from.
I mean, I really think that the superintendent search has brought this to the front.
Yeah.
And certainly we can address some of it through the hiring of the right superintendent. But I think we've got a bigger problem when they don't feel like they can come to a board meeting and express their views without fear of retribution.
Well, I mean, I think some
That's
of
a
it may
problem.
boil down to just simply us understanding our role and them understanding our role. I mean, that was one of the things that I noticed there, is that they didn't realize, or it appeared that they didn't realize why we weren't coming to their classrooms,
Right.
or why that might
Right.
be an issue or something like
Right.
that. And I think it's important for us to know that. And so, Aaron had mentioned brainstorming, how we can improve that communication. And I think us understanding, them understanding what our roles are and the differences in there, and what conflicts.
limitations.
Yeah, what limitations there are, what conflicts there could be or whatever, and making sure that as we improve that communication, we do it in a way that doesn't undermine this new superintendent.
Right.
We don't want that
Yeah.
new superintendent or whoever that new, administrator is, we don't want everything backdoored on them. We
Right.
want them to be able to do their job.
You can't set them up for failure.
Part of that is attending an open house, parents' nights, that's being present, there in a way.
And I was thinking, creating ways, having them come up with ways, and us, coming up with ways that we can get into the buildings. go up there and hang, or, help out at lunchtime.
I'm in.
Would be something, not everybody's got the time like maybe I do, or Coach Colley's got more time than anybody. But,
25 hours a day.
But,
He runs because he has nothing to do.
that's right, that's right.
Well, and I think all of it, I mean, we volunteer our time here, and I think all of us are passionate about the school and what's going on there, but I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And it's not teaching,
Eating
you
that
know, and
time is
I
finished.
appreciate everything they do. I'd love to spend time up here. I have Fridays off, I might be able to do that,
Right.
but it's just not something that I can,
Do
there's only,
regularly.
yeah, there's only so much time that me personally.
Eight
can
to
commit
3 is a
that.
busy time for you?
And as far as.
8 to 3 is a busy
Yeah,
time
yeah,
for
it
you?
tends to be, busy for
And
7 to 5 for me.
Well, Aaron was saying about them coming up with creative ways, I think
Right.
they could come up with
Yeah.
way more better, I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah.
come up with ways, kinda like Mike, you said on this thing, they'll figure it out. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll work it out and it'll be fine.
Well, like muffins with what, donuts with dads and
Yeah.
with a girl. All of us can go with some kid that need.
Biscuits with board members?
There you go.
Well, we might get them thrown.
Gonna have a 7 o'clock biscuits and gravy meeting? I'm in.
that I can probably
Yeah.
make.
I can be late to work for that.
But there are some ways already there if we just did it, open houses and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we could reach that goal. I mean, it's gonna take some effort.
I know,
It's gonna
and-
take some-
And us would have kids at school, I mean, that kind of stuff we're at
You're up there.
anyway, the parent-teacher conferences and donuts with dads and all that stuff, you're there and.
What about it? If you go out there to get your kid out of school, you don't go inside anymore.
No, and-
I used to go inside and wave at everybody as I walked to the office. You don't do that anymore.
What you'll figure out though is.
Stand
you
outside and
guys
call
are-
in, they send your
you're-
kid.
You're a dad of younger kids, as your kids get older, I used to have a lot of communication with these ladies that were on this end of the
Right, right.
deal. I haven't seen any of them in a long time because my kids aren't in that building anymore. I'm starting to see, I've seen the people on this end of it.
Right.
Mhm. So you start, as you gain some,
And the parents, your kids' classmates, parents better than you do kids that are
Right.
senior in high school when
Right.
you have a second grader.
So you move through with your cohorts for sure.
Yep.
But yeah,
There's been a lot of moving through.
Yep.
Right, Mac?
You've
A lot of moving through.
You've probably seen a lot, haven't you?
But I thought it was good.
I thought it was a great meeting.
Yeah.
I did too.
I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest with you. I didn't know
I
what,
didn't
I didn't know what we was,
I'm not sure anybody did.
yeah,
I'm not sure they did.
yeah.
I wasn't
Till they got
expecting a
here,
Subway wrap. No, I'm joking. Based on.
But I thought it was good.
It did.
Whoever made the decision to get chicken,
Yeah, I love you.
thank you.
Yeah, it wasn't pasture raised, but
That's about Huh?
I could tell.
It tasted good.
It
Oh,
did
yeah.
taste outstanding.
Those chicken wraps, those things never seem to chicken.
Anything else for tonight then? Scott's probably got plans he's wanting to get going to.
No plans.
I bet there's food.
There's food involved, yeah.
All right, well, I'd receive a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Dean, and a second.
Yep.
By Adam. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Second, I'll get us shut down.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Is that one of those broke down? Or is you
No, it works. It worked perfectly. I just had silver freeze up.
Why do you ever use it?
Hey, shut us down?
I had my darn legs broke all summer.
Thank you.